Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is Tina Heisman, Certified Master Life Coach. I'm here today to talk to you about why I think that you should work on your marriage. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that I have a Happy Wives community on Facebook. It's a private group where you can get inspiration for your marriage, and it's a very positive place. I want to say that. I've seen some pretty negative so-called marriage support groups out there, and it really is disheartening to me, the negativity. So my group is a happy group, and I really want to keep it that way. So you can always visit my website, tinaheisman.com, if you want to look at the programs that I might offer or anything else. So look for me on Facebook at the Happy Wives community, and also you can visit me on my website. Okay, so I digress. Let's get started. Our topic for today is why it's important to work on your marriage. First, let me say that I love Disney. Love Disney, love Disney World, love Disneyland, love everything Disney. This comment is not a slam on Disney, but there is a problem with how we see in the movies, and we'll use Disney movies for an example. The movie is about, the prince and the princess getting together. And when they finally do get together at the end, they live happily ever after, and the movie ends. It's like, and a lot of movies are that way. It's like the movie ends at the wedding, like that's, the end of the story. But if you're married, that is not the end of the story. And we need to make sure that we are aware of that and that we walk into marriage with more of an open mind, that it's going to be a continual effort. And it's going to be continual growth for both people. You're both going to grow individually and as a couple, and you can't do that by staying stagnant. We study everything else in school, right? They teach us how to add 1 plus 1. They teach us how total eclipses work. They teach us where to put commas in a sentence. But where are we taught about being in a relationship, in a marriage relationship, where you're with someone so much more than you're with anyone else, right? So I think that we need to have a mindset that marriage is a learning process. And just like we have continuing education credits in other fields that we might work in, if you're a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, whatever your profession is, you're earning continuing education. You're keeping up with the times. You're trying to learn, and your job is constantly changing. Our marriages are the same way, guys. Girls, I should be saying. And so now there really are a lot of books written about marriage, right? When I first got married, people gave us books on marriage, and I just kind of thought, oh, that's nice, and I put them in a bookshelf and never looked at them until suddenly my marriage was in a crisis. And I was like, oh, I think I might have a couple marriage books around here. Well, what would have happened if maybe I would have looked at those books a little sooner? But see, it's like when you're first married, it's all of this bliss and everything is so happy, and you don't maybe think to do some preventive maintenance, to do some tune-ups on your marriage. And so that's what I really want to encourage you to do today, because where I was in my marriage when I finally started working on it was in a total crisis. My husband was done. He wanted to move out and move on with his life. He didn't even want to give us a chance. Like he was just that done. And it was such a shocker and so painful, and I had no idea that we had marriage problems. If you would have asked me, I would have bragged about our marriage and, said what a wonderful husband I had. He was always seemed so willing to please me and so easygoing. But there were things that I didn't know that were going on that I would have known if I was paying more attention to learning how to be in a marriage. And that's why we're here today, because I want to encourage you to be an active participant in always working on making your marriage all that it can be. Because suddenly waking up one day and finding out that your husband doesn't want to be married anymore is not a place that I want anyone to be. So I don't want you to feel that, and I don't want your kids to have to go through a separation or a divorce. It is avoidable. Most marriages survive. That divorce rate that you hear of 50%, it's actually not true. There's been some new research done, and it's actually more like in the 20s and 30s. It's really low. So most marriages survive. We can feel confident in that. What does it mean to work on your marriage? Well, there's no one right way, and I want to point out that you are the expert on your marriage. And if you don't feel like it, then you can grow into that. You can become the expert on your marriage and decipher for yourself what you think working on your marriage means. I have a few ideas to share with you today, and then you can think about what might work best for you. So my first tip would be, please do read marriage books. Please do. Even if your marriage seems wonderful today, read marriage books. They will help you see what is normal in your relationship and what might not be, what might need help. And you're going to feel so much more normal just by reading it and understanding. One great example is The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. That's a fantastic place to start reading, and you learn a lot there about communication. He has saved a lot of marriages with that book. Another great book is For Women Only. It helps you understand the inner lives of men. And a third book that I like to recommend is Love and Respect. That one also shows you just the vast difference between what women need in a marriage and what men need in a marriage. And I think we women, when we know what they need, we can tweak what we're doing just ever so slightly and find that they are so much happier in marriage. So that's what I would suggest there. That's my tip number 1. My tip number 2 is please don't stop there. Knowledge without action is not going to mean very much. And that's where I come in as a life coach, is I help my clients take action to improve their marriage. So, for example, say you choose to read The 5 Love Languages, and you take the quiz, maybe your husband takes the quiz, and you discover that his love language is acts of service. Then I recommend you focus on that on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be something big. Don't freak out. Little things like maybe he normally picks up his own dry cleaning, but could you pick it up for him? Could you cook him his favorite meal? Maybe do a chore that he normally does? Buy him something special at the grocery store that's only for him. Like I do that for my husband, and I label his name on it, and then nobody else eats it. So that just shows him that you're going out of your way to be of service to him and that you're thinking of him, and he will love that. I wanted to give you an aside on this topic that it would be great if both of you were reading and learning together, right? Like if he agreed with you to read 5 Love Languages and you read it together, and that would be ideal. But there are many men who just don't want to. They don't want to read. The relationship stuff is scary to them, and maybe they think they have other priorities or they don't have time. They have lots of excuses. And you know what, ladies? Trust me, I have been down this road. We cannot force them, but we can invite them. So invite him to read a book with you or at the same time as you, but don't nag him. Don't beat him up. Don't give him a guilt trip if he says he doesn't want to do it, or if he agrees to do it but he's dragging his feet. Leave space. Leave grace. Let him be in charge of that, because otherwise you're just going to build resentment. And I have found that when I push and nag like that, it makes him not want to do it. But if I just leave it, then he feels more free to do it. And honestly, we have to give them the right to say, no, I'm not interested in that, right? So if that happens to you, don't get too discouraged. Just, down the road when you come across another book, make another invitation, with a different book, or if there's a seminar, somewhere at your church or somewhere local, invite him to that and see someday he's going to take your invitation And I'm telling you, it's going to go so much further if you don't force it on him and make him do it, okay? Something will stick with him. So I just wanted to give you that little aside, and because it's not going to help if you're reading about your marriage and taking action steps, but you're beating him up at the same time for not doing the same thing, okay? All right, so my third tip is thank him lavishly and often. Let him know how much you appreciate him. It has been proven with research that men need respect and admiration. They need that more than they need to hear your love. And it's different because that's not how we are as women. So I'm suggesting thank him often. Thank him for doing the things even that you expect him to do, like taking out the trash. Or what about this, for going to work for your family? That's a great one. You know, thank you for going to work for our family. Or if he's telling you some horror story about something terrible that happened at work, you know, you could say, thank you so much for putting up with that for our family. You know, I really appreciate that, and I can see it's not easy for you. Thank him for that. We had just a recent experience with this in our house. This was a fun story. There was one morning where my husband noticed a button fell off of one of his button-down shirts from the sleeve. So I turned around, and he was sewing it back on. He went and found my little sewing kit, and he was sewing it back on. Like, he didn't even ask me for help. And so I was like, wow, you know, here's a guy who sews on buttons, fixes broken things around the house. He's currently in the middle of remodeling our family room. So I'm like, he remodels the family room. He can cook meals. And I'm like, dang, you are a jack of all trades. And then I turned to my daughter, who just happened to be in the room, and I said to her, you need to look for a man like this when it's time. I'm like, you want someone like Daddy who can be a jack of all trades. And because that's just my preference. I love a man who is handy and who can do things around the house. That's how my dad was, and I really value that. And so my husband actually, he's like, yeah. And as he was finishing his button and putting his shirt on, he said, I even put on business clothes and work in an office from 9 to 5. And so we just laughed about that. And I could tell how good that made him feel. And it was, just a really honest conversation. And it was brief, but it was from the heart, like it was really something that I noticed, because I try to notice what he does, because then you see more of all the great things they do when you're looking for the great things. So that was the third thing I wanted to share with you, is to thank him and admire him. That will make him feel so happy. And in turn, when you have a happy husband, that makes your life happier too, right? Then they're more willing to be there for you when you need them. And then the final tip that I want to share is kind of a no-brainer, but it's obviously to pray for your husband, to pray for your marriage, to pray for yourself, that, God will bless your marriage and protect your marriage and help you be the best wife that you can be, and help your husband be the best husband that he can be, and ask God to bless him, while he's at work and working for your family. And you can ask him to bless everything about it, your finances and your projects around the house and all of those things. But, pray for wisdom at being a good wife, and kindness and patience. And I pray that for you, that you understand. I had a misnomer in my mind. I just thought that I really did. I think, you guys, I just thought I would get married and it would be relatively easy, because I just thought it would. My parents got divorced, and I thought I knew kind of maybe what they did wrong, and so I was just trying to avoid that, but that didn't work, And so I think it would go a long way if we would all just know that we're not supposed to walk into a perfect marriage. It's going to be perfect all the time. There's going to be ups and downs, and reading a little bit and educating ourselves is a great way to do it. And listening to podcasts like this, right, so that you know that you're normal, and that I just think that could help you go a long way. I really could go on with more ideas, but I just think what would be more effective is for me just to remind you that you are the expert on your marriage. And so maybe these things that I've mentioned don't resonate with you very much as ways to work on your marriage. Maybe you think you need more date nights or better communication. take some time and think about what that looks like for you. I'll support you on that 100%. I think that just this knowing is a huge chunk of the battle, and you will just give your marriage much more life if you'll work on it. Okay, so if you need help working on your marriage, that's my specialty and it's my passion, and I hope you can hear that in my voice. I would love to help you if you feel like you're in a place where you could use a little guidance and a little accountability and someone to help you take action on maybe what you're learning about being in an awesome marriage. So just reach out to me. My email is tina@heisman.net. My website is tinaheisman.com. And on Facebook, you can find me at the Happy Wives Community or Tina Heisman Coaching. So that's all I have for you today, girls. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you have a wonderful day.